Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for your willingness to be here and your willingness to serve our country at the highest level. You all are up for very critical roles that affect the lives of all Americans, which is why it's very important that you all bring transparency and accountability to the agencies that you are going to serve. I'm not going to ask you all to comment on the past, but I do want to highlight a couple of the needs of change here. Over the last few years, we've had agencies that prioritized speedy regulation over thoughtful policy making, rushing into policy making without proper due diligence or justification. In fact, we had regulators sit in this room and our other committee hearing room in front of us, and one by one tell me that they believe the U.S. banking sector was the strongest and well-capitalized across the world. I agree. However, immediately, calling for higher and more regulation and higher capital standards right after that. I mean, I literally asked them after the 2023 banking failures, I said, did you use every tool in your toolbox to prevent this? Every single one of them walked down and said, I don't know, I'll get back to you. But then in quick response after that, they all said they needed more power and more authority to prevent that in the future. That is absolutely not how this should work, and it's completely and totally unacceptable. One of the things we also must reinstate is proper regulatory tailoring. So I was able to sit down with Senator Crapo right after these failures and ask him about 2155. My first question is for you, Mr. Good, former staffer to former staffer. Can you speak to the purpose of 2155 and how a balanced regulatory framework actually promotes stability and growth? Because it is my belief, whether it's capital, liquidity, operational risk management, an Alabama bank with less than $1 billion in assets should not be subject to the same threshold as a $3 trillion bank. And I'd probably say the same for a $150 billion bank. And I think there's purposeness in this, and I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Well, thank you very much for the question. It is certainly the case that not all banks' business models look the same or have the same risks. And as a result, they should not be treated the same way, whether as a matter of regulation or as a matter of supervision. If we want to preserve a diverse banking sector, which is to say a sector in which we have banks that are smallest banks, community banks serving their local communities, to the largest of banks and everything in between, Senator, we need to ensure that we, the regulators, and if confirmed, would be the comptroller, adhere to both the letter of the Economic Growth Act as well as the spirit of it in making sure that we are bringing common sense tailoring to both bank supervision and bank regulation.
Thank you for that commitment. Also, in the rulemaking that we've seen over the last couple of years, it created significant confusion and compliance costs to some of our smallest banks, our community banks, and our businesses in rural America and our main streets that make our states so great. Mr. Pettit, this question is for you. In your role of overseeing bank policy, will you commit to regular communication with community bank sector to ensure that the rules that are going to be considered are taking a look at their unique business model? What is the cumulative impact of these things? What is the actual enforcement mechanism? What is this going to cost? How is this going to affect them and their relationship banking? Will you commit to looking at that before moving forward?
Yes, Senator, if confirmed. I've seen firsthand the role that community banks play in adding to the breadth of our banking system. They reach areas in states like Tennessee and Alabama that would be otherwise unbanked. So I look forward to working with them if confirmed.
Thank you, Mr. Pettit. I only have a minute left, and I have two more questions. Shifting gears, I want to touch on the SEC Consolidated Audit Trail, or CAT. The massive data collection poses serious security and privacy risk for consumers. I am pleased that the agency has recently halted the CAT collection of certain personal identifiable information. However, I still have concerns that the data that's already been collected and stored within CAT creates a target for bad actors. Mr. Atkins, will you commit to reevaluating both the necessity of CAT and whether adequate protections are in place to safeguard that data that has already been collected?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I look forward to your leadership on that. And Congressman Molinaro, I see your former colleagues flooding in from the back. You have just immense support from both sides of the aisle and everyone who's had an opportunity to work with you. I am excited for your leadership in this new role. When you said we want to help America move forward, I couldn't agree more. One of the things we see in Alabama is having many rural communities. Sometimes that takes extra effort and extra thought. Do you have any thing you want to add or talk about with regards to how we incorporate rural communities into your plans?
Sure, critically important. Obviously, many of your constituents need to move within their communities, but to other communities for employment. I think the FTA can lean in with technical support, working with regional and smaller transit agencies to provide back office support, really to grow their capacity. But we look forward to getting on the ground, working with you, your staff, and local officials to assist in meeting the needs of rural communities.
Thank you so much. Thank you all.